Good morning, Wesley. We are truly blessed with musicians here at Wesley. Cindy has been working real hard. All the songs that you guys voted on about a month ago, we took the top ones, and that's what we're going to sing today. Cindy took a lot of the others and put them in that her pre-service music today. Let's let Cindy know how much we appreciate her. All right, welcome to Wesley. If you are visiting today, I want to make it really clear, I am not the pastor. So, I know. Yeah, all of our pastors are at an important meeting today, and they left me in charge, which, they may never do that again. We're going to have a great time, though, so it's not going to be your typical service. So if you're visiting, please understand this is not your typical service. But I invite you to come back next week and every week after that so you can meet with our pastors and find out how things really work at Wesley. Yeah. Again, if you are visiting after service today, if you'll go through those double doors, there's a white desk back there, and you can stop and get a nice gift and meet with some of the hosts, and they'll give you some information about our church. If you're joining us online, folks, I encourage you truly join us. If we stand, you stand. If we sing, you sing, and we're going to do a lot of singing today. So just really join in. Worship is not an observation thing. Worship is participatory, so we want everyone to participate and have a good time. There's a lot of things always going on here at Wesley as we serve God and serve our community and serve each other. So to get a little more information about that, direct your attention to the screens.
Good morning, Wesley Church, and for those of you who are visiting, welcome. We're so happy that you've chosen to spend part of your weekend and your summer worshiping with us. I'm Elise Peck, and I serve on staff as the Director of Missions and Communications. Many of you know that Pastor Megan will be transitioning off staff in just a couple of weeks and into a family leave. And as a way of saying thank you for all she's done for our community and our church, we're taking up a special love offering for her and her family. So through this Sunday, you can go ahead and give a love offering to the Wingate family. You can place your offering in an offering envelope and indicate love offering for Pastor Megan or for Megan. We just want to wish her the very best and continue to pray over them. And whenever you see her, just say thank you. This month, our mission team is really excited to kick off our brand new partnership with an organization that's having a huge impact in our community, Victory Mission. Victory Mission is changing lives locally by helping break the cycle of poverty and homelessness, and all while sharing the gospel along the way. Through their programs like mobile food pantries, their restoration program, and their workforce development program, they're making sure that the changes that are made aren't temporary, but that they're life-changing. If you would like to support Victory Mission above and beyond coffee this morning, you can share a special offering. You can do that by putting your gift in an offering envelope and indicating Victory Mission on the offering envelope. Or you can also give through the Realm app. You can select the Give tab on the bottom of the screen and select Gift. Then in the other box, the Fund box, you can select Other and fill in Victory Mission. Your gifts and your support and your prayers are helping change lives right here in our community and beyond. And in a few weeks, on Sunday, June 26th, we're going to have a healing service at all three of our worship experiences. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to maybe invite someone that you know that might be hurting or could use some special prayer time with our pastors. All worship times will remain the same, so you can join us at 9:30 or 11 a.m. for traditional, or 11 a.m. for modern. And the services will be live streamed like usual as well. And also save the date for Sunday, July 3rd. We're so excited for a special ice cream social and patriotic concert. This event will be on the front lawn again this year, and we will have games, we will have tie-dye and entertainment, and of course, Andy's ice cream. So save the date for Sunday, July 3rd for a special ice cream social right outside on the front lawn from 3 to 6 p.m. Thanks for catching up with this week's Wesley Word. Let's come together in worship.
That was certainly one of the great hymns of the church. All right, our call to worship today comes from Colossians 3:16, and it says, "Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs of the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts." Now, I grew up in a really small rural school out by Bodark, Missouri. Anyone know where Bodark is? Yeah, there's not much there, is there? We were there every time the doors were open. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, we were always there. If I allow myself to get real quiet, I can still sometimes hear Sister Shirley playing the piano. I can hear Sister Beulah playing on the organ, and then the whole congregation singing. Those are some of my best memories. Some glad morning when this life is o'er. That's one of the ones we would sing a lot. Heaven came down and glory filled my soul. All of those great songs have a lot of meaning to me because they bring me back to my childhood, which was really very, 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 I mean, we were poor, but man, we had love in our home and we had love in our church. The singing wasn't particularly good, I'll say that, but the message of Christ is undeniable. I could still hear my dad's tenor voice soaring above doing the harmony parts. I can hear Sister Miller. She used to be an opera singer, and in our little rural church, her voice carried over everybody's. My best friend, he was also named Kevin. He tried really hard, but he couldn't carry a tune in the bucket, but it didn't stop him. He just sang his heart out. At the time, it all seemed very ordinary. That's just how life was. Looking back, though, I know it was very extraordinary. It was just such a rich time in my life. All right, now it's just us today. All the pastors are gone, so you can be really honest with you. I want you to raise your hand if you remember specific sermons that you heard when you were a child. I got 2 or 3. All right, let's try this. Raise your hand if you remember the songs you sang when you were a kid. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, don't get me wrong. I know the sermons are important, but I'm going to propose to you that the music is also important. I hope you're blessed today as we sing some of your very favorite songs. And going forward, if there's a song that you remember from your childhood or just a song that you love, catch me in the hallways or come up here and talk to me or talk to any of the choir members. Let me know, and we'll try to get that scheduled into the regular services sometime. Now, let's get ready to have a great Sunday morning.
The first song we're going to be singing is Amazing Grace. It was written in 1772 by Englishman John Newton. Like many of our greatest hymns, the words in the song were born from the heart, mind, and experiences. John Newton lived through a rather unfortunate and troubled childhood. His mother passed away when he was 6 years old. He spent his years fighting against authority, going so far as to try to desert the Royal Navy. Later, he was abandoned by his crew in West Africa and was forced to become a servant to a slave trader. He was eventually rescued, but on his way back to England, a violent storm nearly sank his ship. Then he became a slave ship master, bringing slaves from Africa to England. However, in 1754, he became violently ill. Through this experience, he decided to abandon his life as a slave trader and wholeheartedly devoted his life to God. In 1764, he became ordained as an Anglican priest and penned some 280 hymns. Amazing Grace was set to the tune New Britain in 1835 by William Walker. In his later years, John Newton fought alongside others to abolish the African slave trade. God's amazing grace takes on new meaning when we know a little of the backstory. God's grace is enough to forgive the sins of a slave trader, and it's enough to forgive us. Please stand as we sing.
That Swedish pastor Karl Boberg was a leading evangelist of his day and very influential in the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Sweden. Boberg served in the Swedish parliament and also published several volumes of poetry, including hymns. Boberg's inspiration is said to have come one day when he was caught in a thunderstorm on the southeastern coast of Sweden. The violence of the storm, followed by the return of the sun and the singing of the birds, left him falling to his knees in awe. Soon he penned 9 whole stanzas of the original version of How Great Thou Art. Several years later, Boberg unexpectedly heard his poem sung by a congregation to an old Swedish folk melody. It is reported that it first came to the U.S. through the Billy Graham Crusades. It was first introduced to the Methodist hymnal in 1966, although at the time, many complained, stating that the church's official hymnal would bring respectability to the theme song of Billy Graham Crusades. I think we can all be glad that it stayed in our hymnal. We invite you to take this next hymn as an opportunity to express personal prayer to the Lord. This is How Great Thou Art, number 77.
Oh In 1912, composer Austin Miles was seated in a room alone. He picked up his Bible and opened it to the book of John. The meeting of Jesus and Mary left off the pages. He reported that the scene jumped off the page to him. As the light faded, I seemed to be standing at the entrance of a garden, looking down a gently winding path shadowed by olive branches. A woman in white, with head bowed, hand clasping her throat as if to choke back her sobs, walked slowly in the shadows. It was Mary. As she came to the tomb upon which she placed her hand, she bent over to look in it and hurried away. John, in flowing robe, appeared looking at the tomb, and then came Peter, who entered the tomb, followed slowly by John. As they departed, Mary reappeared, leaning her head upon her arm of the tomb as she wept. Turning herself, she saw Jesus, and so did I. I knew it was he. She knelt before him with arms outstretched, and looking into his face, she cried, "Rabboni." Austin Miles sat down immediately under the inspiration of the vision and wrote as quickly as the words could be formed. The words of the poem stand today exactly as they did when he first penned them. We're going to sing In the Garden, page 314.
The One of the most stirring tunes in the United Methodist hymnal is Finlandia. Sibelius wrote the tune in 1899 as a stirring patriotic offering depicting portions of Finnish history. The original composition begins with the tumultuous opening music symbolizing the struggles of the Finnish people. Then the serenity of the hymn-like melody emerges, symbolizing hope and resolution. In the early 1900s, an American schoolteacher, Lloyd Stone, wrote the first two stanzas to acknowledge the love for his country, but balances that love with that others feel around the world for their nations. Now fast forward to the 1930s, and the Methodist theologian Georgia Harkness enters the story. She added 3 more stanzas at the request of the executive secretary of the Wesleyan Service Guild of the Methodist Church. Only one of those stanzas is in our current hymnal. Harkness was one of the first women ordained in the Methodist Church. Her additional stanza transforms a hymn of peace with vague religious overtones into a prayer for peace that comes from the author of peace, Jesus Christ. We will be singing number 437, This Is My Song.
Song, O God of all the nations.
Well, the pastors wouldn't let me get by without doing an offertory, so we are gonna take up an offering, guys. It's a pleasure to give, and it's an honor to give back to our God and to help support the things that the mission of this church and the purposes that we have for serving God. So we are gonna take up an offering right now. My son Aaron is gonna play his euphonium during the offertory, and he's gonna play "Be Thou My Vision." "Be Thou My Vision" was originally written in Ireland in the late 1800s as prose, and it included 16 couplets. In approximately 1912, Eleanor Hull from Manchester, England, versified the text as it was printed in the Poem Book of the Gaul. Following World War II, it was set to an Irish folk tune called "Slain" in 1919. From that point forward, its popularity was sealed. The ushers are now taking the offering. Aaron's going to play the beautiful Irish folk tune "Slain," and you can look up the words to "Be Thou My Vision" in your hymnal.
Heartbreak often gives birth to great songs. Love lost, loved ones missed, even tragedies elicit emotions that can best be expressed through music. The same is true with our next hymn. Horatian Spafford was a successful lawyer and real estate investor in Chicago. He and his wife, Anna, had one son and 4 daughters. He was a devout Christian and lived a life of philanthropy and service to the church. In 1871, they lost their son to scarlet fever. A few months later, the Great Chicago Fire wiped out a majority of their property holdings. They made it through the next 2 years until in 1873, tragedy struck again. The Spaffords had planned a visit to Europe as a family, but business kept Horatio behind. His family went on. On the voyage, the ship that Anna and their 4 daughters were traveling struck another vessel and sank rapidly. Only Anna survived. She sent a hauntingly brief telegram to Horatio simply stating, "Saved alone." Horatio immediately sailed to join his grieving wife. As his ship neared the place where his daughters had drowned, he was inspired to write the lyrics for the hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul." No doubt Spafford was shattered by the loss of his daughters, but his heart turned to the faithfulness of God in the midst of loss and the work of Jesus to rescue sinners. This hymn does not diminish or gloss over pain and tragedy, but rather proclaims that God is present in them and greater than them. This is "It Is Well With My Soul," number 377 in your hymnal.
Sin not in blood, but
Because He Lives is one of the more modern additions to many hymnals. The song's composers, Bill and Gloria Gaither, state the following about writing the hymn. Written in 1971, Because He Lives was written in the midst of social upheaval, threats of war, and betrayals of national and personal trust. It was into this world at such a time that we were bringing our third baby. Assassinations, drug traffic, and war monopolized the headlines. It was in the midst of this kind of uncertainty that the assurance of the lordship of the risen Christ blew across our troubled minds like a cooling breeze in the parched desert. Holding our tiny son in our arms, we were able to write, "How sweet to hold our newborn baby and feel the pride and joy he gives, but greater still the calm assurance this child can face uncertain days because he lives." Because He Lives, number 364 in the hymnal.
God sent His Son, they called Him Jesus.
Oh, I have enjoyed this. Eugene Bartlett is considered one of the founding fathers of Southern gospel music. He was born in 1885 in Waynesville, Missouri. As an adult, he moved to Arkansas, where he started the Hartford Music Company. It was here that classics such as I'll Fly Away and Turn Your Radio On were introduced. In 1939, a stroke rendered Bartlett partially paralyzed and unable to perform or travel. He spent the last 2 years of his life bedridden. Amid such bleak circumstances, he wrote his final and most beloved song, Victory in Jesus. One of my favorites. The 3 verses and refrain enthusiastically tell of one's own personal salvation experience from beginning to end. If you would please stand, we will sing this final hymn.
great visual. He plunged me to victory beneath his cleansing flood. That's just beautiful. Our benediction today comes from the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 24 and 26. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And the Lord turn his face to you and give you peace. I hope you have a glorious week that's filled with music. Now let's leave with a song in our hearts.